Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the A-Pod. Fun chats, fun topics, fun people. Usually drops every single Wednesday on msgnetworks.com and on iTunes and Google Play. It is Friday. It's another bonus episode. We're keeping the streak alive. A bonus episode of the A-Pod is usually dropping on Fridays. So basically, you're getting a podcast on Wednesdays and Fridays. Thanks for rating, commenting, subscribing on iTunes so the algorithm can be solved and the entire world can find this podcast just like you have. Thank you very much for listening and checking it out. This Friday's guest, our guest today, this was a great conversation, and it veers a little bit away from the realm of sports. We do get some sports talk in there, but the topic of conversation is fashion. So I first discovered my guest a few years ago, literally from a Google search. I was looking up I needed some fashion tips. I wanted to spruce up my game a little bit. I had just gotten a job with WWE at the time, and I was looking for some maybe little details. You know, the little things matter in life. I use that hashtag a lot, hashtag the little things. And, you know, little details that people notice, whether it's a pocket square or an accessory, it really goes a long way to complete your look. And so I was just looking for some inspiration, and I came across the website Style Girlfriend, and I loved the content. I was reading it. I was consuming it regularly. Some great blogs there, some great writers, and the founder, Megan Collins, she is the one that steers the ship. She started the blog. We talk about that, running a blog in 2017. What's that like? Running a site? What is it all about? Where is it going to go? This one was a fun conversation on multiple levels, because not only is it about how to, running your own company, particularly a digital company in 2017, but also the subject matter. Her website is not about, hey, what's happening in Paris or what's happening in the fashion scene. This is style for the everyman. This is, if you are on a shoestring budget and you want to up your game, this is the podcast you want to listen to, and Style Girlfriend is the website that you want to go to. So this is like, by the end of this podcast, you're going to have actionable items immediately. In fact, there's one regarding the sides of your shoes, the white contour of the soles of your shoes. She gives a fantastic piece of advice there that you definitely could do with your sneakers as soon as you listen to it. So the sports connection is we talk about some fashionable athletes and some interactions that she's had with athletes in the past. And so it's not the biggest sports connection that we've had on this podcast, but I definitely wanted to bring her on because I want to have different conversations. I have some guests lined up coming up that don't necessarily have the most ground, like the biggest sports connection, but there's still interesting conversations that I want to bring to light, or at least have as guests here on the A-Pod. So that's why I was excited to have Megan on the show. And when I was working with WWE, we did a week-long what's in your closet, your style for a week kind of post about my style. And so I basically took pictures one a day showing my different looks on the air, off the air for an entire week, and that was on the site, and that was very exciting. It was really cool to be able to mix and match, and pick a good suit, and that kind of stuff. So. And I'm a big fan of suit accessories. As someone, if you have to wear a suit for a living, you definitely relate to this. The tie bars, I'm huge into the tie bars. I'm really big into pocket squares. I love color matching, whether it's tie to pocket square or even pocket square to belt to socks. You know me, I love the funky socks. That's evident from the MSG Hockey Show. We even had a competition about it all season long. But definitely the accessories. The one thing I've started doing, and I did this on a few Devils telecasts to end the season this year, was I have a couple of tie bars from a place called The Tie Bar, which is my go-to place for all of the accessories, by the way. They didn't pay me to say that, by the way. I just want to say that. They have these eyeglasses tie bars. and I instead of putting them across my tie, I put them in the pocket where the pocket square goes. I just hang them there as if they were a real pair of glasses, and I like that little wrinkle to the style game. I think that that's a cool little neat thing. If you happen to catch it, you'll point to it and say, "Oh, that's kind of cool." But it's not something that everybody notices, so it's kind of one of those flies under the radar kind of style moves that you will find on Style Girlfriend. And the other thing that we talk about with Megan is what do you need in your closet, which is a big if there's one thing you should listen to from this podcast, it's definitely that. What do we need in our closet? What are the one or two items that are absolutely necessary? We get into that as well. So thank you for listening to Wednesday's podcast. Before we get to Megan, let's talk about Wednesday's podcast with Kenny Albert. Thank you very much for the positive feedback on that one. That was a very fun conversation with Kenny, especially if you are an aspiring broadcaster or you just are fascinated with the broadcast world in general. You'll definitely want to listen to that conversation with Kenny. And he talks about being the only current broadcaster doing play-by-play for all four major sports. He does work with the Knicks, he does work with the Rangers, and of course on NBC and nationally. He does work with the football on Fox as well as baseball. So he does everything. He is the everyman. And of course, yes, we did get to talk about his work on Jew on a Man, which is probably the most important part of the podcast. Anyway, so that was Kenny. That was Wednesday. Of course, this podcast comes to you every single Wednesday on msgnetworks.com, iTunes, and Google Play. But this is Friday, and this is a bonus episode. So enjoy this very fun and interesting conversation with the owner of Style Girlfriend, the website Style Girlfriend. All the information is in the description of the podcast, so you can find the Twitter account and the website there. Here she is, Megan Collins. All right, here we are, MSG Networks, the lavish offices, which has now become the podcast office. Not the greatest digs, but I appreciate you slumming it with me in this office to do this podcast.
I mean, if you can get me above 14th Street, that's the real accomplishment. So the fact that I'm even here.
That's where you are?
Yeah, I'm a downtown girl, so getting me up this high.
Impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
Midtown.
So yeah.
Penn Station.
I don't even know what to expect for the offices, but
this is the wilderness. This is the wild. How did we do it? So a little bit of background on us. You were very nice enough to do a blog post on me when I was working with WWE. I really appreciated that very much. I literally emailed you cold. I had seen a bunch of your posts online, and I liked the site, and I tried to be as fashionable as possible with my choices on the air. That was the sort of like slant I was going for. I wanted to be fashion guy. And so when I reached out to you, you're like, yeah, let's do something. And I was like, this is awesome, thank you. So
I'm a big believer in the cold email. Like, if you can find someone to intro you, all the better. But if not, you can never go wrong with contact at whatever the site is and just hope for the best. Yeah. And I think that's what you did. So,
That's literally what I did.
Yeah.
Either I filled out a form or I found the email. It was like info@contact@, and that's what I did. Folks, it works. Can you believe that?
I know. I feel like people let themselves get stopped way too early in the process of like the hustle by just saying, well, I don't know that person, or I don't know anyone that knows that person. Like, you can find a way in. Slide into their DMs, just, tweet at them, whatever it is. Yeah, it's always worth just trying.
So hustle is actually a really good word to describe you, because whenever I think of somebody that runs a site, that runs a brand like you do, hustle is the first word that comes to mind, because there's so many options out there. It's a saturated market of websites trying to get people's attention.
I mean, people's attention might be saturated, but the market's not. I mean, that's the great thing, right? Like, you could start a site tomorrow, and all you have to do is buy the domain, and then, sure, it's up to you to get the audience.
But there's millions of sites out there.
Yeah, there's millions of podcasts, but that didn't stop you from making a podcast, right?
That's true. It didn't. I still made a podcast in hopes that. That's a good point. Yeah, I guess in terms of the hustle to try and get people to grow the audience and grow the base.
Yes, that's more challenging. But I think what is so interesting right now about media is there's really no barrier to entry. Like, anybody could be the next Bill Simmons or whoever if they just start a blog, start a Twitter. God, I sound like an old person. Like, sign up for Twitter and start interacting with those sports journalists or whoever it is that you're interested in and, you know, admire, like there's no stopping you. So when people are like, well, I can't do this because X, Y, or Z, it's like, man, get out of here with that. Like, you can. You just maybe, are, I don't want to say lazy, but like maybe you just don't have like the hustle DNA in you, and that's fine, right? Like, not everybody needs to start their own business or needs to start their own thing, but if that's what you want to do, there's no excuses these days for not being able to just go out and try.
How long have you been running Style GF?
I've been running Style Girlfriend full-time since 2013, and I had it running for like a year and a half before that as sort of a side piece.
What was the moment where you said, you know what, I can do this full-time?
Oh, that's a really good question. I don't know if it was so much like, oh, this amazing opportunity is like here for me, but what happened that made me realize it was time to go full-time. So a little bit of background, I used to work in advertising. I was on the account side, so I wasn't even getting to be creative. Like, I wasn't the one coming up with like the billboard or the TV ad. I was literally the one that was explaining to the client why we were going to be late or over budget or whatever, and going back to the creatives and saying, you can't, you know, make this red, it has to be blue. It's a really hard job, and you have to really have a passion for the industry if you're going to do well, and I just didn't. Like, at the end of the day, I did not care if like a mechanical went out for, you know, some soap ad for Oprah magazine. Like, I was just like, it's not the end of the world, but everyone else acted like it was. So I pretty early on realized that advertising was not really what I was meant to be doing, and so I started doing freelance writing on the side, which was great. It was letting me be creative. It was
this for other publications?
Yeah, it was for like, it was like for anyone who would have me, like a lot of fashion blogs.
So always fashion?
I mean, yeah, but only because that's sort of just where I fell into. It wasn't because I was like, oh my God, I love fashion so much. It was just because that was sort of what was available to me. And so at that time, when I was starting to write more, a friend of mine who lives out in LA, my brother-in-law's like college roommate, who used to live in New York, so he and I knew each other. He had moved out to LA and started up this suiting company, like a made-to-measure suiting company. You know, take 20 measurements, send them off to Hong Kong, get like a $250 suit back a couple months later, right? Like, a lot of those companies right now are kind of popping up, and it's a good idea. And he said, look, I need more content for my site. I know you're looking to write more. Do you want to write like a weekly column for my site? And, you know, you get the byline. And I was like, sure, yeah, absolutely. I said, I don't know anything about guy style. Is that a problem? And he said, no, just, you know, write about what girls like to see guys wearing, like maybe tell them to wear suits more often. And I said, I can do that. So it allowed me, and that's like how Style Girlfriend was born. So it was just one of like many things I was doing. I did very little due diligence on the name, was like shocked that it was not being used somehow, because I thought it was a clever title. And yeah, I mean, I just started writing once a week on like literally like, oh, like, have you thought about wearing like more patterned dress shirts? Oh, have you ever considered getting your jeans hemmed? Like, things that women intrinsically sort of know, because for better or worse, appearance is really valued, and we like learn this stuff through osmosis since we were like way too young. And just passing along that information, right? So not so much about trends. Like, Style Girlfriend is never going to be the go-to spot for like, oh, these Yeezys are dropping or whatever, right? Like, there's other outlets for that. But what I told myself is, I said, I can be, again, not an expert, but I can be a fan of guys dressing well, and I can sort of be that whisper in their ear saying, hey, if you have a date tonight, if you wear X, Y, or Z, she's really going to like that. And it turned out that there was sort of this hole that was like ended up being filled by Style Girlfriend, where, you know, guys, maybe they have GQ at like home on their coffee table, right? Like, they care about what they look like, they care about their personal style, but they're not really into like fashion with a capital F. Like, they do not care about Fashion Week. They don't care about like the runways. They don't care about what, you know, like some celebrity is necessarily wearing, but they're shopping and they want to look good and they just want it to be easier. And so Style Girlfriend can sort of bridge that, you know, gap of like whatever the actor or the athlete on the cover of that magazine is wearing, which is probably like a $7,000 suit, versus, okay, I'm shopping at J. Crew and I can afford like a $700 suit, and I should still be able to look good, but I just need a little bit of help in sort of, you know, closing that gap. So we're all about that sort of high-low mix. We're all about talking to the guy that, you know, maybe he's working on a budget, or maybe he's got some like body issues, right? Like, it's not for the guy that's like aspirationally like, oh, I have all this money to drop and I have the perfect, you know, model's body, like whatever. It's not, it's that's a frustrating way to look at fashion. Like that makes it feel like you can't be a part of it, right? Whereas we really believe that you can live with more style literally today, like without even going shopping. Like it can be as simple as like tucking your shirt in or cleaning your sneakers. Like there's just such small steps that can make such a big difference. And it didn't seem like there was that many people saying that to guys. And I think that's why Style Girlfriend kind of took off like it did, because we were coming in and saying like, you don't have to wait until you get a raise or like drop 20 pounds or whatever to live with more style. So I think that's sort of why it struck a nerve.
So I'm sure that this type of article exists on the site right now, but for the purposes of people listening to this podcast who want to up their game a little bit right now, cleaning your sneakers is a great one.
Yeah.
So what would be like 2 or 3 things that you could suggest, that actionable items that guys could do right now, today, with stuff they have around the house that can literally level up their fashion game right now?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the sneakers is like the first thing, right? Like nobody wants
to... By cleaning the sneakers, meaning like the sole of the sneaker or the side of the sneaker?
Yeah, all the way around, like the uppers, whatever's starting to look grungy. So my favorite way to clean a sneaker is just take a magic eraser, like those Mr. Clean magic erasers. You get them a little bit wet. Like, you can like take scuffs off the wall, things like that. They work really well on shoes too. So that's a good one. Like you don't want to go on a date or like, to your office on a casual Friday looking like you just mowed the lawn. And, ideally, you're not wearing the same sneakers to the gym or to, do around the house stuff that you are like out. Like I'm a big believer in sort of like a, like an out of the house sneaker and like an around the house sneaker. But that's a really good one. Like that can,
and those sneakers don't have to be hundreds of dollars, right?
Absolutely.
Like you can go to Foot Locker and...
Oh, 100%. There's stylish options at every price point. And like there's classics too, right? Like the Stan Smiths or like, an Air Force One. Like there's nothing that says you can't have the same sneaker for a while as long as you keep it in good shape. Another one, I think I'm a big believer in like making best friends with your tailor. Like I think that most guys would say like, oh, well, this doesn't fit me quite right because, I have this, I have soccer player thighs or I have like a little bit of a beer belly, whatever. And that's totally fine. And I think it makes every guy think, well, I have this weird body type. It's like, no, everyone has a different body type. So find a tailor that you trust and just bring pretty much everything you buy to them. So just budget in for, alterations, and whether that's taking your jeans in like at the waistline so that they don't like bunch, or, taking them up an inch, like whatever it might be, there's always ways that you can make your clothing look honestly more expensive than it really was, just with pretty cheap, tweaks. $10 here, $20 there. Maybe your dress shirts are like a little billowy because there's, it's kind of too much fabric going around your torso. Like have darts put in. Like there's such great opportunity to shop your own closet. So you don't have to go out and buy a new, totally new wardrobe, but you can take things where I think all of us are super guilty of like having those things in our closet where we're like, we take them out and then we're like, oh, right, I don't like this because of this, or like this button fell off. And then instead of doing something about it, you like put it back into your closet, totally. Right?
Yeah.
And then you go through the exact same thing 2 weeks later.
And then maybe a year later, I give it away because I haven't worn it in a year.
Exactly.
Doesn't spark joy or whatever.
Yes, totally. And like, I mean, hey, if there's stuff that does it, like Marie Kondo the shit out of your closet. Like, but then from there,
Marie Kondo's the one that did does the spark joy, right? Okay.
Oh my God, the magic art of tidying up or whatever. That is so good. I'm such a believer in that. So that's
just to catch people up, just in case they don't know. It's you go through every item in your closet and you ask the same question. You hold this button shirt. Does this spark joy? And if the answer is no, immediately you give it away, you throw it out, you donate it.
It doesn't matter if literally it still has the tags on it because you never worn it, or it was so expensive that it makes you want to throw up. It doesn't matter. Like if it doesn't, spark joy, like you said, then you have to get rid of it. But my favorite part is like, she says you're supposed to thank it. Like if you do get rid of it, you're supposed to thank it for like the joy that it did bring into your life. So like maybe you have something that you've been hanging on to because it's sentimental, right? It's like the suit you got married in or something, but it's totally out of fashion now and you would never wear it again. You're supposed to kind of be like, thank you, wedding suit, for, serving your purpose on like the happiest day of my life. Like I appreciate you, now go. Like it's like releasing a bunny or something into the forest.
I can see, you know what? I can see sports fans doing that. Like let's say you have a jersey that you don't wear, and you look at it, it's like, thank you, New York Rangers jersey, for providing me joy at this game in October of 2014 when I wore you and the Rangers won, and I haven't worn you since.
thank you. And
Yeah,
then you just
and there's like a
pass it
big
on.
barbecue stain on your shirt. Like yeah, like there's so many reasons
Right.
why you might have something, but you can't like, pull yourself together to give it away. But that's exactly the right
Is there
thing.
any situation other than a sporting event where a hockey jersey is fashionable or acceptable? You can be honest here. We need the brutal honesty.
So I will say, I think there's a lot of great fan apparel now that's not jerseys, and that's across the board. One of my favorites, there's a designer, Todd Snyder. He's here in the city. He's from Iowa. I'm from Wisconsin, so we have sort of like a Midwest connection. But he's great. He actually helped bring in like J. Crew's like golden era for menswear, so like the Ludlow suit and all of that. He had a hand in it. But he ended up starting up his own line. But he also has this like other company called Tailgate, and it's all sports apparel. And it's just the type of like t-shirts and sweatshirts and things that look like you've had them for 20 years, but are, slim fitting and, kind of just that vintagey feel that you like want all of your clothing to be, except that your sports clothing is either like, you bought it at like the university bookstore and it's kind of baggy and it doesn't, it's not very flattering, or you bought like a jersey at the stadium for way too much money and it's, it's a jersey. Like it's fine and I get it, and, wear it to the stadium, what have you. But if you're trying to show your fandom, like if you're meeting your buddies at the bar to watch the game, probably skip the jersey and go with something that is more stylish, but still, again, like shows your, your fanhood.
So to tie it into what you said earlier about, making your tailor your best friend. Let's say I have a shirt, I want to wear it, doesn't look that great on me. Maybe, like you said, it's a little bit too baggy on the waist. Bring it to a tailor.
Yeah.
Tailor it in a little bit, and suddenly it looks like a fitted shirt, and I only spent an extra, I don't know, 10, 20 bucks or whatever it is.
100%.
10.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people, I'm always surprised when people are like, oh, you can tailor X, Y, or Z. I'm like, you can tailor everything. Like, you can absolutely tailor
The jeans
a t-shirt.
blew my mind. I actually never even thought of that.
Yeah.
Never, ever. So I can tailor my jeans.
Yeah.
Because
And
I
nobody
got
has to
comfy
know.
jeans that I want to keep. Like, I do this all the time, is that like I'll keep jeans for years and years and years because they're so comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And like they don't have stains on them, and I just ride them out, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just get holes in them, and that's when I'm like, I've even patched holes.
Yeah, well,
because they're so comfortable.
Absolutely. I mean, a good tailor can like fix a crotch blowout. Like that's like something that guys have all the time.
100%.
The third is just to start using hair product. Like if your hair is long enough to need to be styled, if you have stuff lying around the house that you've never really tried, or you tried it once and it didn't really work, like take it back to the barbershop or the hair salon, like wherever you get your hair cut, and be like, I loved when you put this in my hair and I thought it looked really good that first day, and then I've never been able to replicate it. Like have them show you again and try it and use it, because I think having an actual like quote unquote hairstyle as opposed to just sort of like hair sitting on top of your head doing whatever it wants, that actually makes a huge difference in how sort of polished your overall look is.
So it's like the bedhead era gone. Is that done now?
I hope so.
Yeah, but get that out of here. Okay, fair.
Yeah, I mean, just in the same way that men appreciate it when women like wear their hair down and it looks clean and nice instead of wearing it in like a dirty top knot or like a ponytail, we appreciate it when you guys make an effort. So I think that's like the biggest thing that I always want to, sort of get across. Is it's not like Style Girlfriend overall is not about, hey, you should wear this, you shouldn't wear this, and ugh, women hate it when you do X, Y, or Z. It's like, no, like, we try to stay very positive, and it's, hey, have you ever thought about trying this? Instead of, like, oh my God, guys, would you lose the bootcut jeans or whatever? It's like, no, like, oh, have you ever thought about trying dark rinse, slim cut jeans? I think it's just like understood that women make an effort for men, and it has never felt like we've been able to ask the same of men. And so I feel like it's just sort of turn around is fair play. Like, it's okay to say, yeah, I would probably be more attracted to you if you put more effort in, and that's true
now,
across the board.
Is that changing? That paradigm, is that shifting?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was some pushback like a few years ago with the whole like metrosexual idea, like that guys were trying too hard. And now I think it's more that guys are expected to try, but I think that guys still don't feel like they have the manual. Like they're like, okay, I get that I should dress well. I get that I should like whatever, do my hair, but I just don't know how. And I mean,
that's where you come in.
Yeah.
That's where Style Girlfriend comes in.
Totally, because like I've never seen it where like a guy has turned to his buddy at the bar and been like, hey man, I've noticed that your jeans look really great. Where can I buy those jeans? Like guys aren't gonna have those conversations with their guy friends. And for the most part, guys aren't gonna have those conversations with their wives or girlfriends either, right? Because as much
I would
as like,
say that with accessories. Like if you had a nice watch on, I'd be like, hey, bro, where'd you get that watch?
sure. Like if you get, I almost feel like that's like the, second cloud out. It's like, but it gets too personal when it starts talking about clothing. Gotcha. Or maybe not. I mean, I would love to.
That basic black T-shirt you're wearing.
Right. I've noticed
Banana Republic?
I've noticed how it hugs your torso. Like, right? Like guys aren't really going to say that to other guys. And they also don't totally want to ask for directions from like their significant others because they feel like, they don't want to look like they're trying. Like the whole idea of like, you want it to be like effortless or whatever. So you don't necessarily want to say to your girlfriend like, oh, babe, like, can you help me, whatever, match my shirt to my pocket square? Whatever it might be. Like,
really?
I
ask my girlfriend all the time.
I mean, I think that's great.
She dresses me 75% of the time.
But a lot of
and
guys,
I'm totally fine with it.
I mean, yeah, if you have that like level of trust or that level of like,
totally.
if she doesn't make you feel bad about it, like, but I think there is a sense of like not wanting to ask for directions still. You just kind of want to seem capable. And so the internet is a very safe space for that.
Fair enough. If I'm in a car with my girlfriend, I will be obnoxious to the point where it's like, okay, so where do I need to go? Turn left here? And then I'll ask like 8 times before I have to turn left. So wait, just to confirm, left? Okay.
You're that's,
like, I go overboard.
You're
and then
very
she just
woke,
gets annoyed.
I guess.
She gets very annoyed. I do it because it's funny. Anyway.
And I will say, like,
to her,
I think it's great, like, again, like, hopefully she's not actually like dressing you. Like, I hope she's not saying like, I want you to wear this, and you're like, oh, but I'd rather wear that.
I ask her for advice all the time. I'll be like, hey, I have, let's say I'm going on the air and I want to match my pocket square with my button shirt or my socks. I'll say, hey, what do you think of this combination? And usually I will take her advice because I trust it. So
yeah.
But I get what you're saying. Is
yes.
that paradigm?
And you know what? Some guys don't even have a wife or girlfriend at home, so they don't have that option. So
they need a website. If only there was a website that existed
I know,
to tell
right?
them that.
There's plenty of like opportunity to educate yourself, but like, or to, rely on friends or family to help. But yeah, for whatever reason, a guy might be embarrassed or he might not have those resources or he just like doesn't care enough to figure it out for himself and is happy to kind of like you said, like ask someone else like, hey, can you just figure this out for me? And I'll do it. Just make it easy.
So let me ask you this. What are some items that every guy should have in their closet?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, first off, every guy does need a suit. Like, we definitely get pushback on that from guys who are like, well, I'm a whatever, like data engineer, and I'm never gonna have to wear a suit to work. It's like, well, you're gonna get invited to a wedding or a funeral, or you're gonna get taken to court. Like, you're gonna need a suit at some point, and the last thing you want is to need a suit the day before you need it. So to have something, in
hopefully they don't get taken to court for bad reasons.
Right. Well, you never know. But you got to be prepared.
For that time, you get arrested.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if that's the problem, the last thing you want to be worrying about is your suit, right? So, yeah, get something in gray, gray or charcoal or navy, and get it tailored, and then just like have it waiting in your closet so that if and when you need it, it's there. And I also find that when a guy does have a suit in his closet that fits him and makes him feel like $1 million, he's apt to wear it more often. Like, he's going to find reasons. In the same way that, I mean, taking it to the next level, but like, I'm a big believer in like buying a tuxedo in your like 20s or early 30s. Like, if you are going to black tie weddings, like just buy it and you'll end up, as long as you don't change size dramatically, like you'll be able to wear it. And you'll feel so much better in it than something that, is rented. And you'll end up being like, hey babe, like let's get tickets for this gala because I have this tux and it makes me feel awesome and like I want to wear it more. So I'm a big believer in sort of having that ready to go, just so that you can kind of pull like the Batman of just like, okay, I'm going to jump into the cave, throw on the bat suit, and I'm going to like go take over the world. So a suit is super important.
What about for every day?
Even in this casual world.
What would be some stuff that would be fashion?
Like neutral?
Yes, something that will stand the test of fashion trends.
Yeah, I mean, again, every guy needs a really great pair of dark rinse slim cut jeans. Okay. So something that, it's pretty straight through the leg, and if it doesn't need to feel tight, but it should feel slim to the body. So no boot cut, no, like nothing baggy, nothing like no like relaxed fit, but just something that can be dressed up or dressed down. So the type of jeans that you could wear with like a sport coat and a dress shirt, or with, again, like a vintage beat up tee on the weekends. And you're pretty safe that those aren't going to go out of style anytime soon. Like, yes, there's, jeans have gotten tighter and then they've gotten looser, but like straight cut or, slim cut straight jeans, you're not going to go wrong with those. And buy them as nice as you can. the thing about denim is if it's that comfortable, then it probably isn't going to hold its shape. Like when you pull them on and they feel like sweatpants, they're probably going to stretch like sweatpants, and you don't want that. So you also have to kind of be ready for a little bit of a breaking in period. I'm not a big believer in like selvage denim, which is the kind where, you know, people will like sit in their bathtub wearing them or like not wash them for 6 months, you know, and they feel like cardboard when you first put them on. I think you can buy jeans that you feel good in pretty much right away, but you do have to, you know, understand that they'll probably be a little bit stiff when you first get them. And then beyond that, I think, like I said, a really great pair of sneakers that is reserved only for, you know, walking around in, not for working out in, not for doing chores in, but like I hate this term, but like a fashion sneaker, like something that's not for actually being sporty.
Okay. Yeah.
Like you could break into a run if you needed to, but that's not what they're about.
Right.
Like an Air Max 95 or something like that. And then again, keeping them clean. And then beyond that, you know, I think like a really great OCBD, like an Oxford cotton button down, the sort of thicker dress shirt or, you know, button-up shirt.
Thank you for clarifying what OCBD was, because I was like, what?
Yeah, I know. I sometimes get into jargon and I like forget, and it makes me so obnoxious. But you know, you've seen them in like light blue or pink. I mean, you can get them in white, you can stripes, but it's just that's sort of a classic piece where it really only gets better with time. Like I'm very into the sort of like Kennedy's at Hyannisport vibe of like beat up clothing that you can tell was probably kind of expensive. And I mean, I am a big believer in investment pieces, like spend what you can. If you can find a deal, great, but don't buy the cheapest thing because it's gonna fall apart. So think about cost per wear and think about, okay, yes, it kind of makes me want to throw up that these jeans or whatever are like $200, but they probably are gonna last me longer than the pair that I found for $40.
Oh, I can echo that for sure. I mean, I was the guy, especially in my early 20s, I was the guy that would buy like Blue Notes jeans for $49.99.
I don't even know what that is.
Blue
exactly.
Notes? Yeah. Oh, maybe that's a Canadian brand. I go with that. So anyway, it was like I don't know what the equivalent would be. Not Levi's. It was definitely a cheap brand. It was like buy one for $50, get the second one for $25, right? But those jeans would rip in 2 or 3 months,
right?
For sure. Absolutely. And I just kept buying them. I didn't really realize at the time. I was just gambling, hoping that they would last for a long time. But if I had invested, it probably would have lasted a lot longer.
Absolutely.
Now,
Levi's is actually a great example of a brand that's not that expensive and is really great quality. But definitely, I mean, it's something that guys can either do their research on or come to a site like Style Girlfriend and kind of, again, get that shortcut of, okay, here's my price range. What can I get that will go the distance and will look good? Because I get it. Like, again, I always say, like, I'm going to know that I've made it when I don't immediately head for the clearance rack at J. Crew. Like, I love a sale. I love a good deal. But at the same time, I understand, like, I want the cashmere sweater instead of, you know, the half polyester blend sweater, because that thing's going to pill and that thing's going to shrink and it's going to fade, and, like, cashmere won't. And so, you know, yes, again, kind of makes me cringe as I pull up my wallet, but I will be able to wear that sweater for the next 3 seasons instead of, you know, for 1 and then have to get rid of it.
Yeah. I want to bring this to sports in a second, but I want to ask about socks because I'm a big funky, crazy socks guy.
Sure.
I've also noticed, though, starting with last year and still happening this year, I've noticed that ankles are all the rage. So I'm seeing a lot of ankles. I'm seeing a lot of the no socks, like the hidden socks underneath the shoe. Is that going to continue? Is that still a thing?
Oh, man, that's so funny. Yeah, socks are really having a moment right now. There's a lot of companies that are kind of popping up with like cool socks and like subscription box socks. I love a fun sock. Like, I think it's a great way to make your outfit pop a little bit, especially if you're someone who has to wear suits. So, you know,
I do it all the time.
Yeah, you cross your legs and all of a sudden it's like, oh, look at those, like, you know, he's wearing red socks. Like, that's cool. Like, and that shows confidence and it shows a sense of personal style, especially when you're sort of constrained within a more corporate structure, you know, corporate dress code. So I'm a big believer in, if you are going to wear socks that have to show, make them fun. But beyond that, yeah, I mean, it's kind of sexy to see like a guy with like that's flashing a little bit of ankle. It definitely, again, it's almost the same
when
thing.
I hear that flashing of the ankle, it's like Elizabethan times.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
oh.
Ooh, the ankle, yeah.
I mean, I think that, again, it shows just in the same way that if you're going to wear socks, make them kind of not like loud, but make them cool and not like you're trying to hide them. If you're going to not wear socks, like that's sort of its own statement. That said, I love no-show socks because I hate the feeling of not wearing any socks. Like I had a boyfriend that would wear like dress shoes without any socks because he was very trendy, like way trendier than me. People would meet him and be like, oh, like he must, you must have turned him around. And I'm like, no, he dresses better than me all the time. He would never read Style Girlfriend. He doesn't need us. But his feet would stink. Like it was terrible, right? And I was like, okay, so like wear the no-show sock and get the benefit of flashing the ankle, but without, the stink and without the sweat of ruining your shoes by, walking around in them barefoot. I don't know. That seems so gross to me. So no-show socks are super cheap. You can find them everywhere. I literally just did something with the Tie Bar, who I love. And
I love them too. Yeah.
Yeah, like very affordable
I
accessories.
exclusively use them for pocket squares
I
and
bet.
tie bars. Yeah.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you, right?
They're fantastic. You did it in AMA. I just saw it on Reddit, right?
Yeah.
How did that go?
Guys on Reddit just don't want to hear it, which is so funny because it'll be like we'll pop in and answer a question on like the male fashion advice thread that's like, oh, we actually wrote an article about this a week ago. Here's the link, and it's like, we'll get like deleted or whatever because the moderators will be like, you're being pushy or whatever, and we don't try.
You are?
Yeah, like
during the AMA?
Not during the AMA, but like whenever we just sort of like jump on.
Okay.
Because like it's a great place to engage, and there's people that are asking those kind of questions, but it's a very interesting audience because I feel like it's very insular, like where they want to be giving each other advice. But for the most part, I mean, heteronormatively speaking, I think there's a lot of like straight guys on Reddit that do want to impress women or do want to like get a girlfriend or whatever it might be. And so when we're going on there saying, hey, we actually have an idea about that, we get a lot of pushback being like, I'm not dressing for you, or like, I don't need your opinion. It's like, okay, well, you want all these guys' opinions, so I don't know. Maybe all of your listeners are like Reddit users and they'll all hate me now, but like we have never.
We'll hear about it on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
If that's the case.
It's funny. I mean,
doubt
it's
it,
just we've gotten a lot of that in the past, and so it makes me really gun shy with Twitter or with Reddit to share my opinions. So with the AMA, we've only done one before, but with it this week, I was like nervous that people would kind of be like, who are you to tell me what to wear? And really the answer is like, I'm nobody, but like, you don't have to read the site if you don't want to. Like, that's the great thing about content is like, don't bother hating on it. Just don't read it. Like, that's always my thing. I don't understand trolls who like feel the need to be like, go on the site, read everything you've written, and then be like, I hate all of this. It's like, okay.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. The trolling
Get outta
thing
here,
is a whole
then.
separate can of worms that we can open up.
Do you
maybe
get
another
that
time.
one? I mean,
do
you
lot.
get it?
Oh,
Yeah.
all the time. Well, especially in wrestling. When I was in the wrestling space, I got it a lot because I think it just goes back to the passionate fan base, right? Like, especially if they see you as an outsider, like if you're coming into Reddit and you're not a regular Reddit user, I understand that from their point of view. They're like, who are you to come in here? No matter what you do, you could be the greatest.
We're literally like a voice of authority in the space, though.
You could be the Malcolm
like
Gladwell,
Schmo.
10,000 hour super expert. It doesn't matter because all they see is just a human being, even an effigy of a human being. It's not just a human being. It's just this shadow that's coming into their space. How dare you? But anyway,
that's so
much
funny.
love to them. I'm just going to leave it at that. That's their thing. It's cool.
And I mean, just one last point. Like, I will say, like, as a woman, I think it's
more difficult, or is it to navigate, or?
Yeah, I think that you get judged on more than just what you know. I'm sure. I mean, you see that in sports all the time, right? Like, Katie Nolan, like, I adore her. She's great. But, like, you look at her mentions, and it's so much of just, like, get out of here, like, go shopping. And you're like, oh, my God, like, how... In what universe is she not allowed to voice her opinion and know just as much as whoever the next person is that's talking their talk? And so,
if I was in Kaylee Nolan's position, I would basically respond to all of them with a picture of my Emmy in hand, right? I'd be like, but no words, just response, like 100 responses with the same picture, Emmy. That's it. That's all you need to know. So. And so
I think, and it's so funny because I mean, both of our industries, right, are like built on opinions. Like you and I we're not the be all end all in whatever it is that we're talking about, but we've scaled this mountain to have this platform. And so and
a lot of people don't see the behind the scenes work that goes to scaling the mountain.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they just see you at a certain perch, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't see how many hours you put in order to hustle hard to, getting back to that word, to get to that point.
Yeah.
They don't see that. Nor do they do the research to understand exactly what went into it. right?
I don't know about you, but it's made me so much more like empathetic or like generous to other creators.
Oh, totally.
Like I very much do not like hate on people for whatever it is at this point. Like if I don't like a song or a movie or whatever, like my first thought now is always like, yeah, but I bet it was really hard for them. Like I bet that they put a lot of themselves into that. And like even if I don't like it, maybe somebody else does, or you know, what have you. And so I think that that's a good thing, because it's so easy to be like, that sucks, and it took you 2 seconds to say that and it destroyed that person's, you know, confidence or, you know, sense of like success or satisfaction and pride in what they do. And so I'm very cognizant now of the idea that words matter, and tearing people down is a lot easier than building something. So like maybe
I will say
think
also
before
that
you do
Reddit
it.
and Twitter in particular, I love that. Going back to fashion, I'm just kidding. I love this is great. This is why I love podcasting is amazing. You just go any which way we go.
Yeah.
Twitter and Reddit, I think, breed the troll culture, whereas I don't get so much of it, for example, on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
In the comments there. I feel like Instagram is
Well, yeah,
like,
because you have to be who you are on Facebook. Like you can't really hide behind an egg. Well, that's
even
not
if
an
it's a
egg
public
anymore,
page,
but
right? Like I feel
yeah.
like it's less. Maybe do you
people
feel
feel safe trolling when, you know, the less of themselves they have to put out there. But like on Facebook, like your boss could see what you said, right? And so yeah, you would hope that they're not saying like racist things or misogynist things or whatever.
This was literally the subject of, there's a new show on Fox called You the Jury.
Ooh.
Oh man, it's amazing. The second episode was literally that topic on Facebook. It was a Facebook racism case.
Oh.
And the premise of the show is amazing. I know this is a total
Is this
another
it's like a
tangent.
reality show?
It's a reality show. It's live. And the jury is people at home voting. So you have the plaintiff and the defendant and their lawyers, and they do the whole case in an hour, and then you vote on which side. Yeah, and then that's the verdict.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's my new favorite show.
I mean, you have to think, right? Like, if someone's being, a jerk on Twitter or something, like, would they feel proud of themselves if, you know, they had to walk around holding a poster board that had their tweets on it? Like, and if they wouldn't, then why are they tweeting that?
Yeah.
And that's always been my thing with, Twitter, Reddit, whatever it might be. Like, I remember when, remember Ken Bone?
Yeah.
And he, like, was at that presidential debate, and he, like, had that red sweater on. He became this sort of viral sensation, like a meme. And then it came out, like, a week or two later that he had said some really gross stuff on Reddit about, like, Jennifer Lawrence or something. And he kind of had to come out and be like, yeah, I didn't really think that would ever become public, and I'm sorry. But also, it makes you want to take a step back and be like, if you would be embarrassed of something if it became public, like if you suddenly had a national platform tomorrow and people were digging through the archives of your public content, like, would you wish that you had not said that thing? And if you wish you wouldn't have, like, maybe don't say that stuff. And not to, like, thought police anybody. I mean, you won't find any of that from me. Like, I would never, I don't even know who I would troll in terms of, like, people that are higher up the food chain than me, like an editor at GQ or something. I don't know. Like, I just wouldn't do that. Like, I just, like, if they think different things about trends for summer,
right.
Yeah, I have my, like, secret account. Yeah, like, I wouldn't be like, you're stupid, or, like, your opinion's
But you have to
invalid.
make sure you spell it wrong, too.
Yeah, exactly. You are.
I want to bring this back to, I want to tie it into fashion and sports. Yeah, speaking of fashion, great sidebar, though. Great sidebar.
Yeah,
love these
sure.
conversations. When you...
I get very passionate about that.
Yeah, no, trust me, me too. It's a topic that anybody in the public eye struggles with. So sports and fashion, are there any athletes that you see particularly, whether they're out and about or whether they're arriving for a game or whatever it is, that you say, wow, this is some really good style going on here?
Yeah, so every year we do SG Madness, which is like our men's style tourney that runs alongside March Madness, and it's so fun. And it's like the best like brainstorming that we have to do at Style Girlfriend. It's like, okay guys, we have to like get into this war room and talk about, well-dressed men for the next 2 hours, and nobody's going anywhere. It's a really tough time.
I feel your pain.
Yeah, right? Somebody's got to do it. But no, I mean, it's every year more and more athletes make it into it, because like there's so many guys out there now that realize that they have not just the disposable income, but like resources available to them. They're employing stylists, they're learning about fashion and what they like and what their personal style is. And so even in the past like 5 years, you've seen such a change going from, really terrible, like just oversized sportswear and, those suits that are like 18 buttons long and all of that. Like guys are really, yeah, I know, right? Like the huge ties, like we're really moving past that. So if anything, like we've now almost like rebounded into this other arena of like players that are like, not only do I want to look good, but I want to be like dressed kind of crazy or like, really be out there. Like the Russell Westbrooks, right?
I was just going to say, his cheetah, he had like a cheetah jacket.
That's or like
the
Von
first thing that pops in
Miller
my mind.
or like Cam Newton. Like there's, these guys that definitely are like really putting themselves out there. And then there's guys that are more like reserved but still look really great. Like a DeAndre Hopkins or like Kevin Love. Like there's definitely guys that have fun with it but sort of aren't trying to be like the flashiest guy on the team. And then there's guys that are a little bit like more basic, right? Like Steph Curry just got the cover of GQ, but I've never thought of him as the most stylish guy. But he's trying.
The two guys I think of in the hockey world are Henrik Lundqvist to me is just well dressed.
He makes SG Madness every year.
Right. So he's like the GQ hockey poster boy, right?
Yeah.
And then the other guy I think of was PK Subban, but he's more out there. He definitely he experiments with his choices. So he's more flashy, he's more out there, whereas Lundqvist I think is more traditional. He's definitely got the nice.
Yes. He's got his personal style on lock, but it's not super accessible, right? Like, I don't think people look at Henrik Lundqvist and be like, I could dress like that.
No.
So I think that's probably why Steph Curry got the cover of GQ instead of him, maybe. It's like the idea of like, it's a little bit more attainable to say, what about just like a nice V-neck sweater and some like trousers that, are well cut. Because, Lundqvist is like, in these double-breasted blazers and everything like that, and it just feels a little bit cold or like clinical. Like he looks like a walking fragrance ad, and it's great, but it's not very relatable to the guy who's sitting on the couch watching him like walk into the stadium. So I always kind of like when guys' style is a little bit more accessible. But I think there's still room for improvement across the board. Like I think in both baseball and golf, I don't think that we've seen anyone that's really come out and been like, wants to be the Russell Westbrook or wants to really kind of own the title of like being the most stylish guy. Tennis, I think, there's definitely some, like Roger Federer dresses really well. He's like best friends with Anna Wintour from Vogue, so maybe she helps. But like, it does feel like there's still pockets of, I don't think beyond like The Rock, I don't think anyone in wrestling is really trying to become a style icon. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's interesting. I feel like it sort of, it started in basketball and then it moved to football, and I think that we're still kind of seeing a ripple effect when it comes to fashion in sports.
What about this remind me, since you mentioned wrestling, because wrestlers always wear their own merchandise, right? That's not fashion related at all. That's money related. When they're on TV, wear your stuff so that you can sell it.
Totally.
But graphic tees, so I own a lot and I wear them all the time, more so for comedic effect than anything. It's not fashion related at all, but give me the rundown on the ridiculous graphic tees, whether it's a band shirt, whether it's a funny retro shirt, whether it's like logos.
We're not big on graphic tees, to be honest.
So
like the fact that you even said like
aside.
I wear it to be funny. Like I don't wear anything to be funny.
No?
Like I'm not like, look at this kooky hat. Like you know what I mean?
No pizza hats, nothing like that.
Right. Like I'm from Wisconsin and I do not own a cheese head. Like I think that's a really weird, like apart from Halloween, I think it's a really weird thing to kind of feel like I'm going to dress to be noticed, but to not be noticed for my style, but to be noticed for like what I'm trying to have this thing say about me. And I think, and I'm not saying this is you.
Oh no, it totally is. It's fine. I can take it. It's okay. I wear stuff for the references, actually. So like my optimal situation, and I know this is not what fashion should be at all, but I do wear shirts sometimes, especially in the summer. Let's say I'm going to an arcade. I'm a big arcade guy. I totally admit that. I will wear like an obscure video game reference t-shirt, okay? And it's not fashion forward at all. But I'll wear it because I want to meet the one person that will come up to me and say, I know that reference, and like we have this moment, and it's like, I don't know, I guess, not that that's gonna happen.
So that I totally get. I think for me, I'm thinking more like,
I'm trying to justify wearing these
Yes.
shirts. I'm hoping that you
I mean,
allow
if
me
it's that
this.
obscure, if it's that sort of like random, I think for me, like whenever I think like graphic tee, I literally think of like comic book store guy from The Simpsons.
Yes.
And or like an I'm with stupid tee, like that kind of thing. And I think that that's almost actually it's like armor that some guys who are not super confident in their style use to sort of say like, I'm not into fashion. Fashion's stupid. And it's like their way of turning fashion down before fashion can turn them down. Does that make sense?
Understood.
So I think that some people use it as a way to deflect attention away from people noticing that like, yeah, like their clothes don't fit right, or they have kind of a sloppy haircut. And I think that that's too bad. I think it's like this defense mechanism that they don't need. Like, I think it's, fashion doesn't, you said like fashion should be or shouldn't be. Like, fashion shouldn't be anything. It's not, like, I don't care about fashion. Fashion to me is like what is going down the runway, like, this color is hot for fall. Like, I don't follow that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't follow that on the women's side, and I really don't follow it on the men's side. But I do think that the way that you dress can impact, for better or for worse, how you feel about yourself. And so why wouldn't you want to give yourself all of the like the benefit of the doubt or whatever of like, you deserve to have a great day today. And like, when you look in the mirror and you feel like $1 million, you're going to walk out and you're going to hold your head higher, and you're going to, your shoulders are going to be back, and you're going to firmly shake people's hands and smile and look them in the eye. Like, that all can start from just feeling good in what you're wearing. And so I think if you're like using your clothes as a way to kind of say, I don't want to be looked at, or I don't want to be taken seriously in that way, I think you're like doing yourself a disservice. And I think you see that all the time, right? Like, you see celebrities that, you see like the pictures of them from like 10 years ago or whatever, and their hair is in their eyes, or they're wearing baggy stuff or whatever, and there's just nobody that can dispute that they look better when they're making more of an effort than when they're not.
True.
And so, become your own like after, and in a before and after. Like, you like don't feel embarrassed that you're starting from zero. Like, everybody starts from zero, because I think that's why people start, or like that they don't try, is because they realize, once I take the first step on this like whatever like personal style journey, for a while I'm just going to look at everything I own and cringe, because I'm going to realize like that I have so far to go. But that's with anything, right? Like, that would be like taking a first piano lesson and then being like, oh my God, I'm so bad at the piano, I'm never doing this again. It's like, well, you can only get better. So I think when it comes to clothing, I think that's what guys have to get over, is the embarrassment of sort of having to learn in public for a while. And again, that's why you see guys that just don't. They just like opt out of trying, and those are the ones that are wearing, the like superhero t-shirts or whatever, even though they're like 40 years old.
Now, to be fair, I am consciously picking to wear these shirts. So I think, going back to what you just said there, I am trying to attract a niche audience with the shirt. So I think I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
So with that respect, I think I can accept wearing those on certain days. I think I'm cool with that. Okay.
I
fair.
love that. I mean, it sounds like you're really self-aware. I think that that's what sometimes people are
that's the
lacking, is like the idea of like, why am I doing this thing that I'm
I
doing?
needed the
and I think that's true
validation
across the board.
from you, and I appreciate it. So thank you for the validation. That's what I needed.
I hope you
So
just start
thank you.
tweeting at me like every single time you wear a graphic tee, like, how about this one, Megan?
And then you're
How
just
about
like,
this
no,
one?
no, yes, no,
I'm
maybe.
gonna tweet you Katie Nolan's at me.
Yeah, that's it. Katie Nolan's at me. If it's a yes, and if it's a no, like some mentions of hers or something like that. Exactly. Okay. So, give me a snapshot of a typical week on Snell Girlfriend. Like, what people go to your website if they've never been there before? What will people find?
So on Mondays we do 5 days, 5 ways, which is one piece styled 5 different ways. I think that sometimes it can be hard for guys to envision multiple ways to wear things in their closet. And so, if they bought a shirt and a pair of pants off the mannequin at the store, then they're always going to wear those things together. That's like a really great feature for us, because it says, okay, you have this Oxford cotton button down, right? Here's how you can dress it up. Here's how you can dress it down. The OCBD.
The OCBD.
Yep, exactly. Or like a patterned sport coat, or even like darker jeans that we were talking about, or like, brogued boots. Like, there's so much stuff where I think guys can get a lot more mileage out of their clothing. And again, things that they already own, not like things they have to go shopping for, just because they didn't necessarily think about like, oh, I could actually wear this with this other thing that I've, never thought to pair it with. So that's what you'll always find on Mondays. And then from there, it's sort of it's shopping tips. It's like save versus splurge kind of thing. So, if you have this much to spend on a whatever black t-shirt, buy this one. And if you have more than that to spend, buy this other one. Because everything that we do, we just want to make sure that we're, like, I hate this word because it kind of is like wasted away to nothing, but like we want to make sure that we're curating the process for guys. Like, I don't want to be served 20 black t-shirts on an e-com site. I want to be served 3, right? Like, I want someone to like winnow down that selection and be like, okay, Megan, like, yes, there's all this stuff out here, but like we got the noise out of the way, and here's just like what you have to choose from. And you still get the choice. Like, we're not saying you have to pick this one, but of these 3, we think these 3, we think these are great. So we try to do that for our audience as well. Like, we get that there's just like endless choices now, and that can be really overwhelming. So we try to cut down on the noise for our readers in that way. And then beyond that, like we've kind of started doing more like relationship focused content, because we found from our audience that is helpful. Like, everything from, like ways to feel more confident going on a first date to like how to argue with your significant other in a way where both people, both sides win, and like it's coming from a place of love. Because I think that we can be that unbiased party that almost like either like an older sister or like your best friend from growing up can be like really honest with you.
Is the site morphing into not just fashion? Are we morphing into relationship advice?
Yeah, we've never been like exclusively fashion.
Okay.
Like, from the get-go, like I said, when my friend kind of like asked me to start writing for him, I like always meshed in stories and, like life experience, and hey, here's why I'm talking about this thing today, because, this thing happened and it made me think of whatever. So the reason that we do that is because you can find the same content anywhere, right? Like, you could literally just Google best jeans for my body or whatever, and you're going to find 100, results, 1,000 results, 10,000 results. But we feel strongly that people come to Style Girlfriend for our perspective, like for the female perspective. So we just always kind of want to tie it back to what I was just saying, right? Like, you're going to feel better when you look better, and vice versa. And so how can you have that sort of $1 million moment carry throughout your day? And that could be anything from the clothes you put on your body to, exercising, to having a relationship that, makes you feel fulfilled, to having a career that you can be proud of. Like, all of that ladders back up to this same idea of confidence. So fashion is always like the easiest entree, because it is sort of this public thing, and it goes, it's unlike, working on like working on yourself, quote unquote, right? Like, it's something that you can do pretty quickly and see results from right away. So for us, fashion is like an entree into talking about how to like live your best life, for lack of a less cheesy term.
Right. Great. This has been a really fun conversation, I have to say, Megan. And now I think
you sound so surprised. Did you think I was just going to be like,
well, no, what I'm surprised by was the conversation about the trolls. That was the biggest surprise of the conversation. I thought we were going to stay on point, and then we just tangented into something amazing.
God, well.
And I feel like what we should do now is spend a few minutes and just respond to a bunch of trolls, or maybe other people's trolls. Maybe go on Katie Nolan's mentions and respond to her trolls, to her trolls with the Emmy.
I will say, like, our readers on Style Girlfriend are so awesome. Like, we are so lucky to have found this audience that they're really positive too. Like, they're there for the right reasons. They're very protective of like me and my team. So when people do pop in and like say obnoxious things, like, we generally, like, it's like we don't even have to fight our own battles, because they're, jumping on whoever it is, being like, yo man, like, what, what's your deal? So I think as Style Girlfriend continues to grow, I'm going to have to figure out how to develop a thicker skin, because it's just going to happen. And like, I can't do anything to stop that. But it is a weird thing. Like, it's just like, dude, what is this energy you're putting out into the world? Like, you must be so unhappy.
We're going to, maybe there's a conference or something. I'll meet you there, because I'd love to know the answer too. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah,
it was a great conversation.
This was
I appreciate
great.
it.
I know, I had so much fun. If people are interested, they can go to stylegirlfriend.com. And they can find us on Twitter and Instagram at StyleGF.
And that'll be in the show notes as well.
Cool.
So there it is, a very interesting conversation with Megan Collins of Style Girlfriend. Visit the website stylegirlfriend.com and on Twitter at StyleGF. Also on Instagram and Snapchat, find them there. All the information is on the website. Next Wednesday, we'll be back with another edition of the A-Pod. And thank you very much for your comments. If you have any thoughts on any of the guests that we've had previously or who you'd like to see on this podcast, or even just send us questions, you can find me on Twitter at Arda Ocal TV. Thank you very much for listening to #the A-Pod. We'll be back next Wednesday, and have a great weekend, everyone.